talking about the war on drugs and all the tragedy that comes from that, the addiction rate from conventional medicine and legalized medication is much, much greater problem than it is on the illegal drugs. But one of the silliest things that we have done is we've taken this war on marijuana and said, well, there is another plant that sort of looks like marijuana, although you can't smoke it and you can't use it for much other than industrial products. We have to make it illegal as well. So what have they done? They've decided that nobody in this country can raise hemp. You know, it's an industrial product. It can create thousands and thousands of jobs. In the 19th century, there were thousands of farms that raised this. In times of war, we've encouraged people to raise it because of the alternative things that they can do. So what do? There are a lot of raised in Canada. They make products and they sell us the products from Canada. But all we have to do is we don't have to understand each little issue. All we have to do is legalize freedom. And these It's been a long time since we've had a full understanding and enthusiasm for liberty. But the one thing that I have noticed, especially coming and talking with young people, this is where I get my encouragement. The spirit of liberty is alive and well with many, many young people and a large number of remnant. The people in the remnant have been around for many years and haven't had a voice whatsoever. So I believe you cannot stop an idea whose time has come, and the idea of liberty, the time has returned to us. Something happened approximately 100 years ago when freedom was chopped up into pieces. Freedom is the freedom to run your life and also to keep the fruits of your labor, which means we shouldn't have an income tax either. But for some reason, one group decided they'd defend economic liberty, and that was good. Then another one said, well, no, we're going to not have economic liberty, but we want to protect personal choices and personal lifestyles. But why is it that we have to have two parts of freedom? Why shouldn't freedom be one thing? Our right, our natural right to our life, a natural right to our liberties. And that means that we have control of our lives. We're in charge of our lives, not the government. So, the income tax makes the assumption that everything you earn belongs to the government. And then on their permission, the permission of the government, you're allowed to keep a certain percentage of your income under certain conditions. So that is the destruction of liberty. We did at one time have the greatest understanding and the greatest prosperity of any nation on earth. But now we aren't in that category. Another issue that I think demonstrates the importance of understanding the right to your life and the ownership of your own life is the principle of the military draft. I know we don't have a draft now, but we still have registration just in case. But we've had a draft. I happen to have been drafted back in the 1960s. But when the government has you have all 18-year-olds still sign up, it's a messy sense. We own you. We can take you. We can use you. If we need to fight a war, and it's a legitimate war, we've been attacked, it should be done deliberately through the people and their members of Congress voting for it, and not by one person in Washington, one president, to go to war or under the UN or the IMF, and there should never be a draft, but we should all be willing to defend our country. Freedom has not been around a terribly long time. If you look at all of history, and if you look at the current history around the world today, most of it is tyranny, tyrants, people wanting to run other people's lives. And there are many in Washington that have been running our foreign policy in both parties for a good many years now. They say that America is an exceptional nation. in a way, and our history could show that maybe we have some exceptional traits. But what they mean by exceptionalism and that we have this moral obligation to spread our values mean that we do this by force, that we go over and tell other people how they have to live. But guess what? Special interests get control of that attitude, and lo and behold, they help some countries that are on their way to democracy. They hurt those countries, and then they prop up many dictators. If you look at our history over the past 20 years, so many of the bad guys have both been our friends and our enemy. They're our friends as long as they do our bidding. They're our enemies if they don't listen to us. You know, that we've been offered two types of foreign policy basically over these many years. One says that we go to a country and we ask them to do something and to be on our side. And if they do it, we give them a lot of money. Then we go to somebody else and they say, no, we're not going to do it. We're our own country. So then we bomb them. I think there should be another option. The Constitution and our founders gave us another option. They said we should be friends with all who want to be friends, trade with all who would like to trade with us, and be in negotiating form and never be aggressors. But today, I thought there were those only two choices, and I offered the third. But unfortunately, we've ended up with a fourth one, which dramatizes how foolhardy our foreign policy is. It has to do with Pakistan. Pakistan, you know, we are dropping a lot of drones, using a lot of drones and dropping bombs, and kill literally thousands of people. Nobody knows the exact number, but literally a lot of people have been killed there. And there's collateral damage, but we don't count those individuals as people. But at the same time, we're dropping and antagonizing the people, and the people resent it and really despise us doing this. We're giving billions of dollars to the government of Pakistan. And there's a civil strife building there. And lo and behold, now there's even talk about what else that we must do. Will we have to send our troops in there? And then we had a comment just the other day by the propped up leader that we have in Afghanistan. Somebody has been associated with, his family associated with drugs and corruption. The president is called by the name of Karzai. So Karzai said, well, in gratitude for what you have done for me, in case you go to war with Pakistan, we're going to side with Pakistan. Yeah. So this whole thing of supporting individuals. We were on the side of bin Laden. We had been on the side of Saddam Hussein. Whose side are we on in Saudi Arabia? Oh, yeah, we're good friends with Saudi Arabia. But guess what? 15 out of the 19 individuals that came here on 9/11 came from Saudi Arabia. And also, they have a dictatorship. They follow Sharia law. They're not Democrats, and yet we're their best friends, so to speak. I think the founders had it right. Be neutral, mind our own business, come home and be willing to trade and talk to people. You know, Ronald Reagan had one of the most fantastic statements when he wrote his memoirs. Because in the early 80s, I was in Congress and then back out and then went back in again. But in the early 80s, I was there when Reagan sent the troops, sent the Marines into Lebanon. And I can remember speaking out against this and worrying about what might happen. And when he sent the troops in, he was challenged about, well, are you going to really stay there and be determined? Or are you ever going to leave? He says, I will never leave with my tail between my legs. But the Marines got killed and the troops came out. Suicide terrorism stopped. As soon as the French and Israel and the United States left, there was no more suicide terrorism in that region. So when Reagan wrote his memoirs on this, he talked about the Marines, and I thought it was very significant. So he said that I know what I said. I said I wouldn't leave with my tail between my legs. He says, but the reason I did that, he says, I had not realized how irrational the politics of that region was. So he was admitting the truth. And he went on to say that he said if he had had a policy of neutrality and had followed that at that time, he says those Marines would still be alive today. Now that is an astounding statement because it is so true, said by a person who made a mistake, admitted the mistake. Something similar to this happened with McNamara. Before he died, he wrote some memoirs, and they weren't exactly apologetic, but there was a lot of admission there that the Vietnam was a total disaster. What a tragedy. 60,000 Americans killed, and he was really the orchestrator of that war. So when he was being interviewed about the book, one of the interviewers said, "Do you want to apologize for what you had done?" And he says, "What good would an apology be?" He said, the only thing that is of any value is you recognize the mistakes and you change your policy, change your way. So what I would like to see happen, and I think it is happening because the country's coming our way and 65% of the people want to come out of Afghanistan. We have to admit the truth. We can't keep lying to ourselves. If we have a policy that is deeply flawed, we have to come clean and change it, whether it's monetary policy or foreign policy or Federal Reserve policy or spending policy. We have to admit the truth that we went the wrong direction and we can change it.